So we're going to move on to IOSS, which is why we're all here today. We're talking about the Import One-Stop Shop scheme. So what is Import One-Stop Shop? What is IOSS? And we shortened it down just to make it nice and easy to say. So the EU Commission has listed it out right here. The Import One-Stop Shop scheme is the electronic portal businesses can use after the 1st of July 2021 to comply with their VAT e-commerce obligations on the distant sale of imported goods. So one thing to note is that it's a completely optional scheme, and it's designed to really simplify how you're collecting and remitting the taxes over to the tax authorities instead of having to VAT register in every single EU member state. The IOSS scheme makes it nice and simple because you only need a single VAT registration in one specific member state of identification, we call it, and you're actually remitting all of that VAT to one single EU member state, and then the tax authorities take that VAT and split it amongst themselves, so saving you lots on in lots of different ways. So first off, with the IOSS scheme, there's no import VAT charged when the goods clear customs. So what this means for your goods is that instead of having to pay import VAT and then reclaim it on a local VAT registration, under the IOSS scheme, you're actually just going to be collecting the sales VAT at the point of sale from your customer, and then using your IOSS number on the import documents, and then paying over that sales VAT later down the line. It's also used by marketplaces and retailers. So if you're selling on a marketplace, make sure that any of those transactions going under the €150 threshold is using the marketplace's IOSS number. And then any sales made through your own website, you're going to be using your IOSS number. So I'm just going to run through actually what does this look like in practice when you're using the IOSS system in this scheme. So first off, if you're a non-EU based business, which which all UK businesses are now after Brexit, you're going to need to appoint an EU based intermediary. And an intermediary is someone who is based within the EU who is jointly liable for the VAT owed by your business. So they're putting the risk and trying to weigh out the risk between multiple parties so that if a business outside the EU does not pay their taxes, someone is there to carry the burden and there's no lost revenue from the tax authorities. Secondly, you're then going to register for the IOSS scheme. So this registration is quite quick. It's much quicker than any other VAT registration. So if you've VAT registered in the past, that would have been a much longer process. This one is taking about 1 to 2 weeks to get in. So it's much quicker. You're then going to update your website to identify and apply the correct VAT rate depending on where your customers are located. So what this means is if a customer is purchasing from you in Germany, you're going to want to make sure that you're charging the local rate in Germany, which is 19%. But maybe a customer in France purchases from you, you're going to have to charge 20%. So making sure that your systems are ready to calculate the VAT at the point of sale, and so that you are not losing out in your margins if you've just applied a blanket rate to your prices. Once a product is sold, you're then going to collect the VAT amount. So you sell a product, you're going to keep that VAT aside. Don't spend it on any other products that you're buying. Make sure you keep that aside because you're going to have to pay this over to the tax authorities. And like I mentioned earlier, for marketplace sales, if you've sold something on a marketplace, use their IOSS number on these transactions, and the marketplace is going to be responsible for collecting and remitting these low value, less than €150 sales to the tax authority on your behalf. You're going to show the VAT that you collected on the commercial invoice, and you're going to have all of your documentation with the IOSS number on the documentation for your goods to have fast release once the goods get to customs. So there's going to be no hassle getting those goods through, and they'll be out and to your customers as quickly as possible with no delays. After that, you are going to file a monthly VAT declaration. So each month, what happens is you collect all the transactional data and we calculate the VAT amount, and then we pay over the VAT on a monthly basis to that one member state of identification. And then the tax authorities are then responsible to split that amongst themselves. The biggest thing to note here is that you want to keep all your records for any of your IOSS distance sales for a period of 10 years. So this includes any transactional data, any proof of export, proof of import. Make sure you're keeping that in the cloud somewhere for a period of 10 years, as any one of those tax authorities across the EU are able to come in and question and audit your business. So you want to make sure that you're retaining proof that you've actually paid all the VAT necessary for your business, and there's going to be no troubles further down the line.
Sounds good. So let's now look at, so that was VAT compliance under IOSS. Let's look at shipping under IOSS. So like we mentioned earlier, you can only send parcels under IOSS provided they do not exceed a value of 150 euros. So that means the intrinsic value of what you're sending, the order, is not more than 150 euros. Intrinsic value is not the cost of the is not the what you're charging for the product plus delivery. It's simply what you are charging for the product. So it does not need to include delivery. As a retailer, you need to be able to provide your IOSS VAT identification number to the carrier. So if you are selling via marketplace, then that will be the marketplace's IOSS VAT identification number. If you are selling directly via your own website, then that will be your own IOSS VAT identification number. So that needs to be provided to the carrier, but also that carrier is going to need to have all the other mandatory commodity data required to ensure a smooth customs clearance once that parcel gets to the border. So that will include the information that I mentioned earlier on the commercial invoice, the HS code, the harmonization code, the description of the goods, the value, the weight, country of origin, etc. And one thing you need to make sure is that really that your labeling and dispatch systems support paperless trade. So by that I mean that when you are providing, you can provide that information to your carrier digitally. So you can capture that in your system and transmit it all to the carrier so that they are then able to present that information at the border when they come to customs clearance. Okay. So what makes IOSS good for business? Okay. So the first thing is that it saves time. We've seen how it reduces a reduction in red tape by up to 95%. So that should be welcome news to you guys, to the majority of you that said that's your number one pain point. As Alex mentioned, you only have to register once. So you pick which member state you want to register in, and that will cover you for all 27. And similarly, you only have to submit one single consolidated monthly VAT return, not multiple. And the IOSS identification number makes customs clearance faster and smoother. There's less risk of parcel delays.
Next up, it saves you money overall. So it just adds to the benefits here. So first off, looking at your cash flow. So the VAT payments are made to the EU tax authorities on a monthly basis. If you're locally VAT registering, some tax authorities have quarterly filings, some have annual filings. And also with the IOSS scheme, you don't have to worry about paying import VAT and then reclaiming that on your local VAT return, which really does disrupt some people's cash flows. So this is going to be a huge benefit for many businesses. Also, you're going to avoid paying courier fees for VAT clearance services. I'm sure many of you may have been hit with a bill from couriers to say, oh, you have to pay a handling fee or your VAT to clear the goods. As a customer, it's not a great experience, and it's that extra money there, and as well as you're not paying that on behalf of the customers.
Fantastic.
Next, you're just paying one tax authority in one currency. So this means that you don't need to be worrying about FX payments, going cross-border, and worrying about any multiple payments to various tax authorities.
Okay, and last but not least, let's not forget the customer, the EU customer, and also us. I mean, who has, since Brexit, ordered something, say, from France, and the parcel arrives, and you get a call from Royal Mail or a letter saying, your parcel's here, but you need to come and pay VAT before you come and collect it. That is not a great customer experience. Under iOS, the VAT is going to be transparent because when your customer gets to checkout, you need to be able to calculate and display the VAT at the point of purchase. The customer means that they're confident they're being charged VAT at the rate that is applicable for the goods that are being delivered to them in their country. Ease of payment. VAT payment is made directly at the point of purchase. So that means that when the parcel then gets to the customer's not going to get any nasty surprises or any unexpected VAT payment requests. They can just get their parcel. Job done.